Welcome to another Rags to Riches Secrets. What we're going to cover today is I received this book in the mail. It's called The Power of One by Ed Mylett. And the reason I want to discuss this is I made a mistake. And as soon as I realized I had made a mistake, like sometimes one of the ways to be successful in life is to acknowledge when you make a mistake and you're wrong. And so I received this book in the mail and I was like, what the heck? You know, I didn't buy it, didn't order it, didn't request it, didn't do anything of that nature. But since I'm going to Funnel Hacking Live, and for that event, Ed Mylett happens to be one of the speakers. And as a result, he sent, near as I can tell, he must have mailed everybody a copy of this book so they could have a chance to take and to read it. And I was thinking, just another book. I'm probably not going to read it, not interested. But then I was talking to somebody, one of my friends, and I said, so I received this book in the mail, and I said, and they said, well, I'm actually in the process of reading it right now. And they said, did you realize that Ed Mylett has a net worth of $400 million? I'm like, one more time? Wait a minute, just a second. Pause. I went and looked it up, and sure shooting he does. I had heard from another source that he was making about $20 million a year. And the very first thing is look, if you make more than $250,000 a year, you're in the top 5% earners of Americans. And one of the things that I noticed and I run into is you bump into people, you talk to people all the time, and for the vast majority, none of them make that much money. But instead of like saying, wait a minute, like Mike, what is it that you're doing that's allowing you to live better than average? Like when you've got sales guys, like these brand new sales guys that the best that they've ever made in their entire life is say $3,000, and you get them up to $18,000 on what they're taking in. Like that ought to make a lot of people pause and say, I wonder if I could actually do something different and level up my life. And as soon as I had gathered that this gentleman, Ed Mylett, was worth 400 plus million, I said, stop. Anytime somebody can obtain that level of success, you have an obligation. Okay, you don't have to. But if you wish to prosper in life, you ought to at least pause for a second and ask the question, what is it they're doing? What is it that when these guys speak, you ought to show them the respect of willing to listen, because what they can do is they can impart to you something that took them decades to discover so that you could obtain that knowledge in one day. And so there's a couple things I want to share. The first one I already hit is look, just acknowledge when you're wrong. Admit it. I was wrong, Ed Mylett. Congratulations. I should have read your book earlier. I didn't realize that I should have listened. I listen now. Okay. When I was going through this book, some of the key nuggets that he had dropped in here is he calls this book The Power of One More. And when I saw that title, I was a little bit perplexed. Like, what is the deal with this one more idea, right? And until I sat there and I listened to it. He's like, look, as you go throughout your days, you're doing things. He's like, you need to figure out how to accomplish one thing more. So like, for example, you go to the gym and you're going to get on the treadmill. Instead of doing 1 mile, do 1 mile and a quarter, or 1 mile, just a teeny bit more, just a little bit better. And every day you just figure out, how do I level up a little bit more? How do I get a little stronger? How do I get a little more knowledge? How do I understand a little more information? Like when I work with my guys, I'm like, you need to start considering this. Like success is on the other side of being able to figure out how to knock one more door, how to talk to one more lead, how to talk to one more prospect. And as you start doing that, you will start leveling up your lifestyle. And so I saw that. The key success, or one of the key things that I did is, like when I started learning how to sell, okay, is I would figure out, okay, in the beginning, I wasn't very good, but I learned just enough things about how to be persuasive and to sell that I actually just became good enough so that somebody finally said yes. And then what I did is I added another layer on top of that, another strategy, and then I just kept adding to it and adding to it and adding to it. So when I have staff that comes and meets with me, like I am showing them, like, look, when we go meet with a prospect, okay, what appears to you is a normal conversation is not actually a normal conversation. What it is a scientific based selling methodology that allows somebody to say yes because you were working things in the proper manner. Okay. And I discovered that as I took and added layers on it, or one more this or one more that, I started obtaining more success. Okay. One of the things that Ed Mylett points out in this book is he's like, look, you need to understand that success is not convenient. He said, go find any successful person that you've ever met and you will discover that success was not convenient. They actually did the experiment of crossing a desert before they got to the coconuts on the other side. It was not convenient to, in the beginning, not make money as you're designing and honing and improving skills so that at a later date you can reap a bigger harvest. It is not convenient. It's not convenient to learn more. It's not convenient to go to seminars. It is not convenient to listen to podcasts. It is not convenient to, and just think about it, tack it on. What is not convenient? And the more comfortable you can become with what is inconvenient or trying to understand how things work and how you can level up your game, then you can start having breakthroughs to success. The problem is that we get very comfortable. We get comfortable in our daily lives, in our daily routines. We become very comfortable in how we interact, okay? And as a result, we get trapped in this circle of sameness, which prevents us from advancing. There was a really good story that one of my friends told, and he was talking about, he's like, look, in the beginning, he says, like, just imagine you got this big tree right here, okay? And he says the problem is with humans is that humans will go up inside this tree and they will set a nest. And inside this tree, they're feel nice, comfortable, safe, everything's working great, right? But as they start to try to branch out and to go places, like they step out of the nest, all of a sudden they're like, they start to fall. Like he's referring to a bird. The bird starts to fall and you could be like, oh, I'm scared. So then what they do is they nestle into the tree, they climb back up to the spot, and then they set up their own nest, okay? He was saying that the difference between a bird and a human is birds have to learn how to fly. But that does not mean that us as humans ever actually learn how to take flight or fly at the same level in which we could. And so you got to understand that success is not convenient. The third thing I wanted to share with you is he says it's your daily standard. You got to take your daily standards and level up. You'll see people that will have goals. They'll have, like, here's my goal. He goes, there's a huge difference between having a goal and having a standard. See, a standard is something that you will not live without. Like you will require inside your life. Think about it. Maybe your standard is I want to sleep on a bed. Okay. You will find a way probably almost every single day throughout an entire year just taking to sleep on a bed. Okay. What if your standard was, this is a standard that I've been working on with my wife. Here's the thing that I discovered with my wife. My wife loves to go to Hawaii. She loves it. She wants to go there. She wants to be there. She wants some downtime where we can take and work on a relationship and communicate. And so one of her standards has become is I want to go to Hawaii. And like once you've got that ingrained in your head, then the thing is like, how do I cause that to happen absolutely every single year so that you could obtain that standard, right? Now, that could be very different than saying, oh, I wish I could go to Hawaii. I did that for many, many years of my life. In fact, it wasn't until I was probably 43 years old that I finally went to Hawaii. And then since that point, I have gone twice a year ever since then. Because what happened is it became a standard of something that had to be obtained. And so then you start asking yourself different questions. Like, what could I do that could make this happen? So if you want to figure out how to change your life, like you can read this book about it from Ed Mylett. You can listen to, I like listening to Tony Robbins where he talks about standards. And he says basically the fastest way that you can change your life to get a breakthrough to the good side is to figure out how to change your standards of what you not hope to have, but things that you will absolutely must 100% have. And once you've got that fixated inside your mind, you then have the power to actually obtain it. But it starts with a standard. And so I'd suggest you read this book by Ed Mylett. If you know Ed Mylett, good friends with him or anything of that nature, it'd be great to have him on the podcast. He can be on my podcast. I'll be on his podcast. I don't care. It would still be great to take him to come in contact with him. at Funnel Hacking Live. I probably have to find a way to track him down and engage in a conversation with him. Anyway, my friends, that is another